Hi there. Today we're going to discuss the percent equation. Objectives and standards. Today we're going to use the percent equation to find the percent, the part, or the whole. As our standards, we're going to recognize and represent proportional relationships between quantities. We're going to represent proportional relationships by equations. And then we're going to use proportional relationships to solve multi-step ratio and percent problems. The vocabulary you're going to need to know for today is percent equation. Use the percent equation. We're going to use the percent equation to find the percents, the parts, and the wholes. If they're asking for the percent, they're going to ask questions like 3 is what percent of 6? They want to know the part. They'll ask questions like what number is 50% of 6? And to find the whole, they're going to ask questions like 3 is 50% of what number? You can use the percent equation to solve problems that involve percent. And when you're doing this, just remember that they always convert the percents to decimals. If you want to change them as fractions, that's perfectly fine, but normally they'll do decimals for the most part. To solve any type of percent problem, you can use the percent equation, which is part equals percent times whole. And just remember that you always have to convert the percent as a decimal. Remember, when you're trying to identify which one is the part, the percent, or the whole, usually the word is represents the part, the word of represents the whole, and the symbol for percent means it's the percent, and then just remember you have to convert it to either a decimal or a fraction. And like I said, usually we'll do decimals when we're solving these problems. Our first example is what number is 12% of 150? So the first thing we have to decide is, do we need to find the percent, the part, or the whole? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our original equation and decide what do we have already. So we already know that we're given the percent because of the percent symbol. We're given the whole because of the word of. So what we're looking for is our part. So we're going to set up our equation, part equals percent times whole, and we're just going to substitute our numbers. So we don't know the part, so we're going to call it P. Our percent, we changed from a percent to a decimal, so 0.12, and our whole is 150. Now we're going to multiply, and 0.12 times 150 is 18. So we know that 18 is 12% of 150. Our next example is 21 is what percent of 40? So we're going to take a look at which numbers do we have and which ones do we need to solve. So we have the word is here, which usually represents our part, and we have of, which usually represents our whole, and so we don't know what our percent is because it says what percent. So now we're just going to substitute what we know into our equation of part equals percent times whole. Our part was 21, our percent we don't know, so we're just going to call it n, and our whole is 40. So we're going to have an equation of 21 equals 40n. When we do this, we are now going to divide by the number multiplied by the variable on both sides. So n is being multiplied by 40, so we're going to divide by 40 on both sides, and we get 0.525. That equals our percent. Now, the most important thing that you have to remember here is that this is our percent, and this is the decimal version of the percent. So if we have to give it back as a percent, we got to multiply the decimal times 100, and that's 52.5. So 21 is 52.5% of 40. Example number 3. 13 is 26% of what number? All right, so the first thing, again, we're going to decide what do we need to find. Are we finding the percent, the part, or the whole? So we know that 13 is right next to the word is, so that's our part. We know that 26 has the symbol of percent, so that's our percent. So we're going to now take our equation, part equals percent times whole, and substitute what we know. Part is 13, percent we turned into a decimal, so 26% is 0.26, and your whole is your W. So now we know that 0.26 is multiplied by the variable. So we're going to divide by 0.26 on both sides of the equations because we want to know what W is. And we find out that 50 equals W. So 13 is 26% of 50. Our last example is a survey found that 25% of people aged 18 to 24 gave up their home phone and use only a cell phone. If 3,264 people use only a cell phone, how many people were surveyed? So in words, we know that 3,264 people is 25% of what number of people? So the 3,264 is just the number of people with just cell phones, so it's not actually the whole population. So that is our part. And we know that 25% is the percent because it has the symbol. So now we're going to have W represent the whole number of people surveyed. So our equation is going to be 3,264, which is our part, equals our percent, 0.25, times our whole. So now we have 3,264 equals 0.25 times W. We're going to divide both sides of the equation by the number that's being multiplied by W, and that number is 0.25. So I'm going to divide by 0.25 on both sides, and now I'm left with 13,056. So that means that 13,056 people were surveyed. Okay, so today we used the percent equation. I hope that video is helpful. Thank you. Bye.